So this is going to be something I like to do quite often, which is nighttime rucks, whether it's a mixture of woods, it's a mixture of trails, housing, ponds, lakes, all that good stuff. And when I do this, I typically have some type of flashlight on the shoulder strap of my bag. Now, lately, it's been, oh, well, I say lately, most of the time, it's a Phoenix, normally the PD36R Pro or the 36R Ace. They're just, I think that they're some of the flagships from Phoenix when it comes to like a semi-tactical, just a very good ultra everyday carry type of flashlight. Too big for your pocket, but it works well for these type of applications, right? So a lot of times that's what I carry. However, we just got the new Nitecore P27ix in, and it's an interesting flashlight. We're gonna do some of my normal tests with it, see how it works on a trail, and just kind of see how it illuminates some different areas. Doing this in conjunction with my long-term review of the GoRug GR2 Dyneema. Now the GR2 comes in different liter dimensions. I have the 26 liter version with me, and I can just tell you right now, when a review comes for this, super comfortable. I gotta talk about the fact that they don't give you a chest cinch, because so many of its competitors I've been testing over, I say over the years, that's the one big feature that you always seem to get is a good old chest cinch. But let's light up the woods. All right, guys, so we do have the Nitecore, the P27i. Now, for when I do testing with this, I'll let you know which flashlight we're going to be testing off. So first off, let's start off with the Nitecore. This is turbo mode. So this is not the lumen shield. This is not the 5,000 lumen. This is the what they would consider like a turbo mode. All right, now here's what 5,000 lumen looks like on this. So you see it goes up to 5,000 lumen. It should be able to only keep that for a certain amount of time. But there's a turbo mode back down where that's lumen shield, 5,000 lumens. That tree right there is approximately 110 feet away. That tree over there, according to my laser finder, is about 150 feet away. So there you go. Now, next comparison will be, this is the next torch. This is one of my favorites. This is the TA30D Max. This is their flagship. So I'm going flagship versus flagship. This is their turbo mode. This is 3,000 lumen. You can see it does have a little bit, I think it's a little bit wider than the Nitecore, but it's really easy to use. So here's the low, medium, back on turbo. So back on this tree here, which is 110 feet away, 150 feet away, illuminating the tree line. All right, now, flagship, I believe, for the Phoenix. Now, Phoenix has a lot of different flashlights, but this is going to be the PD36R Ace. All right, so here we go. This is 2,800 lumen, I believe, or maybe it's 3,200 lumen. I'll put on the screen. But this is their turbo mode. It's a little bit tighter of a spot. Beam on there. There's 150 feet or 140 feet, 110 feet, illuminating the tree line. All right, now let's light up some neck and neck type of stuff. All right, let's change the beam on the Nitecore, because the beam can be changed. So we have it here set to more of a spot beam. We changed that. This is like a mix, and this is their flood. Now, for me personally, I can't really tell the difference. If you look towards the left, you can see when you're on the spot, you get like a pineapple shape on the beginning of the flashlight itself. And then as you go to the mix, it changes. And then when you go to the flood, it changes. I guess for me, it's not enough of a difference between the mix and the spot beam mix. This spot legit looks like a spot flood mix. This mixture, I'm not really sure what they're trying to do here. And then the flood, you know. So I think this feature is a unique feature. I think I could have probably just do without it. I probably would always just leave it on spot. It's very rare times when I need to illuminate right in front of me when I'm on a ruck, so I normally need to illuminate, you know, usually like 10 to 30 yards ahead of me so I can see if that's a rabbit, a coyote, a fox, uh, or whatever the hell is going on. So that's what I'm normally taking a look at just to see that. So that is the Nitecore. Let's pull out the TD. So this is the Nitecore. Let's see if we can go top for top. So this is 5,000 lumen. This is 3,000 lumen. Okay. Now I'm gonna shine them both here on this brush, these wildflowers right in front of me. The 3,000 lumen doesn't significantly look that much brighter than the 5,000 lumen of this lumen shield right here does not look significantly brighter than the 3,000 lumen of this next torch. Now it is brighter, don't get it twisted, but it's nothing that I can just quickly discern with the eye. They're both still putting out good light. I like the light that this TD is putting out. Even if I change the pattern of the lumen shield, then we can go back to, there we go. So changing the pattern a little bit, I still really like the pattern on the next torch. Phoenix P27ix Ace. Now this is definitely, you can definitely tell the difference between this two. This 5,000 lumen, I think this is only 2,800 lumen, maybe 3,000. You can definitely tell the difference. This did just step down. I don't know if you noticed that though. I had this lit up, it just stepped down to turbo mode from the lumen shield mode. So it did begin to try to keep itself from overheating, so it just stepped down. This one is still pumping out the turbo mode. I'm back on lumen shield here. Let's see how long it will keep lumen shield before it steps down again. So that's one thing you have to think about, is the flashlight will try to protect itself eventually and kind of step down. It's just a really good flashlight, man. Really good flashlight. So let's get back on the actual trail, and I guess for the rest of this ruck, use the Nitecore as I go along my path. All right, so heading down to one of the darkest parts of my ruck. I just saw a runner to go down here and he had like no lights, but this is what it looks like. Now, there's a little bit of light because I have a light on top of my camera. When I say like this is freaking dark, now this is my EDC flashlight, which is the Streamlight Polytac 1L. This is 500 lumens right here. All right, so not a ton. All right, this is just, it's kind of, there you go, 500 lumens. I guess this would be okay for the ruck, but you know, it's not really what I want to do for illumination wise. Whereas this is the Nitecore. The Nitecore definitely illuminates a lot. And so normally when I do stuff like this is on turbo. I would normally bring this down, you know, maybe to like medium. So this is medium right here. And just kind of leave it on and walk. Like literally just leave it on the ruck. If I need to, I can go up to high. So that's turbo. This is low, medium, high. So I can normally leave it on high, still get hours out of this thing and not annoy anybody that may be coming up on the trail. So, I mean, it's doing pretty good for that. But the forward grip of it, it can get a little uncomfortable. I'm gonna show you one of the darkest places that I cross when I go on these rucks. And, you know, it's always a little suspect. But I do like the fact that you're able to duty carry this or tactical carry it. Duty carrying, like, meaning I currently have this thing. Let me turn it up so you can see a little bit better. So I currently have this thing held like this as I'm using it, okay? So I call this a duty carry. Holding it like this is a tactical carry. So you get both whenever you're using this. So that's pretty good. So if you want the ability to use both, that's something that's gonna be nice to have. So usually when I'm out on these trails, I really, really care about just having some stuff that's reliable. It works well. I don't have to worry about it not functioning when I want it to. There is animals out here. There's homeless folks out here. There's just whoever, teenagers, whoever. So I don't need anybody like rolling up on me. That's why it's always important for me to have a light with a strobe and a powerful light that's reliable, dependable, all that type of stuff. Does it meet those factors? Yeah, for the most part. Now I will say this, the sheath that comes with it, I don't even have it on this bag, because it wouldn't work on this particular bag. The molle on this bag is all horizontal, and that sheath definitely does not want to be mounted this way. So this sheath is from it's actually from a Next Torch flashlight, and this is way easier for me to just mount this how I want it on this thing, whereas the Nitecore mount is just not going to work for this application. It's not really the fault. It will be sideways, similar to this Nitecore mosquito repellent. It will be sideways like that. So something to think about. It's not really that big of a deal, but you do want to kind of just caution yourself when thinking about that. So, all right, guys, it might be kind of hard to see, but this is the sketchiest area on my ruck most times. I'm going under an underpass, okay? And it is freaking dark down there. That's not a long underpass, and it's technically has lighted poles above it, but underneath, not so much. This is where lumen shield comes in, okay? So 5,000 lumen lights that up. If there was any type of animals, normally there's like possums down here, okay? I've never seen any, actually I've only ever seen possum down here and homeless folks. But anything down here, I can light it up easily, see, okay, is there anybody up there? Nah. Is there anything going on? Lights up the creek right here. So lumen shield, you see it just stepped down though. It just stepped down to turbo. So it just did lumen shield for literally about 20 to 25 seconds. So this is turbo. Lumen shield is trying to cool itself off. Super dark down here. So this is one of those places where you would want to have that ability to have that lumen shield technology. Just very, very dark, sketchy. Hello, Mr. Spider. I think I always see you when I come here. Do you only come out at night? I never see you when I'm on a bike in the middle of the day. You out here trying to get your food on. I got you, I know. Anyway, yeah, so this is the sketchy part. So, you know, when I'm under this underpass, you see how freaking dark it is? Walking through spider web, stuff like that. Super important. Let me get you back to the studio and give you my final thoughts on this flashlight and who do I think it's for and why, if it were my money, I may not purchase it. So the Nitecore P27ix, is this thing really ready for prime time? I think my short answer is it's not for me. I'm going to tell you why. First, let's just go over some things that I didn't necessarily talk about while I was out on the trail. So this thing is well built. It feels like it is made of a 661 or something similar to that aluminum. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm right. You know, it does feel well built. Okay. And I do like the fact that it's steel cover for the USB-C port, steel button on the backs, both of those, steel pocket clip. It has glass breakers in the front, so you can engage that if you're on duty or if you're trying to break somebody out. It has 20 mini LEDs in there. Okay, so this is the first time that they've gone with something like that. LEDs take a long time to go out, but if and when yours were to go out, you got 19 more to work with there. But because it has so many of those LEDs, this is where you're able to get those different beam patterns. We have, I believe this to be like the spot flood mix. This is clearly the spot. I guess, no, this is the spot flood mix. And then we have the flood. Is there are differences with all of them. Let me just say this. You see the pineapple shape for the beam? That one kind of lets me know that I'm kind of in the floody mode. As I change it, you see that the actual shape of the outer of the beam is changing a little bit. They're very hard to differentiate between the two. I tend to just keep this thing in a spot. So that's like a wider spot. This is a tight spot. This is kind of where I'd normally leave mine set up as. So well built, really easy. The actual indicator for the user interface is pretty easy to understand. You click this. The right side is how much battery you have left. The left side is the output that you're in. So now I'm in low, medium, high, turbo. Okay, so very easy to understand there. And of course, you flip the other side up if you want to access the USB-C charging on this, which is a metal port. It is a relatively small size, pretty compact. So changing the light modes is pretty easy. The very rear buttons have different distinct features. So this rear button here, if you have press it, it will give you whatever the last mode you had on. So I have this right now set on low. So if I want to change this, I can change it and hold down this front button. Now it's going to always come on medium, which is where I normally keep mine. I can press it again or make it come on low. Okay. So I have it. So now it remembers to come on low, right? So I do this again. I press this rear circle button here and I hold down the memory button. Now I have it set to come on medium every time. So whenever I have press it, I will always get medium output. So that's how you can customize that switch. The lumen shield button, you press that, you see you're getting 5,000 lumen. You can also press this and you can get different beam patterns. Okay. And you can change the way that the lumen shield functions. Okay. So while you have lumen shield pressed, you can hold this down. This is going to show you a different beam pattern. And then if I press it again, it's going to do strobe. And so what this is doing is telling the flashlight, when I have press on this tactical lumen shield button, instead of giving me lumen shield no strobe, it's going to give me strobe immediately. You can turn that off, strobe warning again, hold it down, you're getting strobe, hold this down. Now it's just going to give you lumen shield. So you have press for lumen shield, full press to get the strobe. So there's different ways to program those buttons up there, which might be useful for you. So that's pretty dope. Let's talk about the actual battery that you get on this. So you're getting this 5,500 milliamp hour 21700 battery. However, this battery is a proprietary battery for Nitecore. So I've seen other brands do this. Coast has done this before. Streamlight or Olight does this all the time. They say they did this because the output of this flashlight at 5,000 lumen, the way it's doing it, they need their own proprietary batteries. You can charge this thing while it's inside of the actual flashlight, or you can even use a external charger. And this is an external charger by Nitecore. I have one by Streamlight. I haven't tested to see if that one will work. I'm assuming it will because it does have positive and negative contacts. And this thing can charge all sorts. So this one will charge the Nitecore battery just fine. But I can't grab this extra 27100 battery I have laying right here and throw it in there because it won't work. Okay. It's only going to work with its proprietary battery. That does kind of suck. You can buy a bigger version in this battery. 5,500 milliamp hours is a lot. You can buy a 6,000 version. That's not significantly more. And I don't know if I would spend the money to get more, but it's something, if you want to hot swap those out, you're going to have to get an extra battery. So that's something that you may want to think about and look into. Next, let's talk about some of these accessories that you get with this thing. So the flashlight itself, let's leave it off, because I'm going to start to tell you a couple of other cons that I have with this thing and see if it's going to be something that will be worth it for you. You're going to get this holster. This holster has a metal clasp at the back. Okay, so they're following me through with that sheet, the steel, and it actually fits really well in here. I think this is a missed opportunity to make some type of lock mechanism. This is just a friction fit on here. Whereas I have this next torch holster here. And this one, this is not designed for this flashlight, but it actually has a lock right here where if I engage that, it will lock the flashlight in place. Even if I'm using the wrong flashlight, which I am, I can tighten this up and kind of force it to lock this flashlight in place. So that's just less likely that it pops out of the holster. But another thing I wished about this holster is that I wish it rotated. This holster actually is in and I've rotated it around to get it onto this bag. This one wants to go on Molly or go on to your plate carrier or whatever. It wants to go on this way. Okay. It would be nice if this thing rotated. I think they do sell aftermarket holsters on their website. You can buy and do those, but I'm not seeing how this one does it. And that is something left to be desired. So this has a lockout switch, which you may want to engage with, because at 5, this doesn't have a proximity effect. So if I get really close with 5,000 lumen, it will burn through something. So this lockout switch might be important to you. It's also a kill switch. So if you're using the flashlight On turbo, kill switch, it turns it off. Kind of wish that when you unlocked it, it would come back on into the last mode. There are some Phoenix flashlights to do that. That would be pretty dope. So if that battery dies, I told you cannot hot swap any old 27100 out, but you can. They do give you a battery caddy here. And if you have some CR123A batteries laying around, you can put those in here. You're not going to get 5,000 lumen. I actually don't know what output you'll get with it, but at least you'll have a working flashlight. So a lot of times we have these laying around because they go with our weapons lights, or they go with smaller flashlights. They go with a lot of like Surefire and Streamlight type of flashlights. So we always kind of have these batteries laying around. So that makes it so you can still use these, but you don't get the batteries. You got to provide those yourself. You also get this charging cable / lanyard. Now, the issue with this charging cable / lanyard combo is they're trying to give you a solution to a problem I don't think existed. So they want you to, I guess, not lose the charging cable. So they've made this in such a way so that you have the USB-C to USB-C cable attached here. You can just disengage it right here and use it. They have a lot of these on their battery banks as well. The issue with this is you cannot put this around your wrist, right? The reason you have a lanyard on a flashlight like this, especially if you're on duty, is so that you can put it around your wrist, because if you're on duty, you're talking to somebody or whatever, you may want to be able to put the flashlight on, take some notes about something that you saw or whatever. Let it just hang, because you don't want to hold the flashlight all night, but you don't want to put the flashlight in your pocket. Like, there could be a number of reasons why you put the flashlight on your wrist versus just letting it hang. So one of my buddies is a guard at a boat dock where there are over 400 boats. A lot of people are allowed to sleep there at night. You could sleep at your boat dock. If you're not at your boat dock, you know, he's kind of just there to see if things are go bumping at night. He said that one of the biggest things that he would not like is the fact that he could not put this around his wrist, because he keeps the flashlight out literally during an entire 12-hour shift minus his breaks, and this would get on his nerves. Another thing that might get on your nerves. Let me show you how hot this thing gets. All right, so let's run this. I'm going to run this, and I'm going to run some of those other flashlights that I had. This is a problem. I'm trying to take it out of its holster, and the lanyard's getting caught up on the... I guess it wouldn't happen if this thing was on an actual plate carrier or on a bag or whatever, but that is a little bit of a concern. All right, so what I want to do now is we're going to run these things. I was running earlier the Nitecore P27ix. I was running the Nextorch TA30D Max, which is their flagship, and I believe this is Phoenix's flagship in like this 27100 lineup is the Phoenix PD36R Ace, and by extension kind of the PD36R Pro. Okay, so each of these can run turbo or their version of that, the Lumen Shield, etc., etc. Now, you would say to yourself, X, you're going to run this. I want to just show you like how incredibly hot this flashlight gets. So I'm going to point these up towards away from me, but I'm going to try to run all these as long as I can. Now, unfortunately for the Nitecore, in order to run that Lumen Shield, you do have to press on the thing the entire time. Where these two flashlights, for the most part, I can set these up to go turbo. So that is on its version of turbo. This one is easy. I'll just turn it on. It's on its version of turbo. And now the Lumen Shield, let's start the timer. I'm doing the Lumen Shield. I have to hold this one down to get Lumen Shield. Turbos, actually, it could run on its own. So we're going to see how long can Lumen Shield go. I'm looking here to see when Lumen Shield steps itself down, because it did do that earlier. Okay, and it's going to step itself down to turbo. And when it steps itself down to turbo, we're going to see, okay, it's just stepped itself down now. So now that I know it stepped itself down, I'm just going to run it on turbo without touching it. So now it's running on turbo. I'm going to run all these on there, you know, on this setting for 45 seconds. And I just want to just see if I can tell the temperature difference, because it's really, really interesting. All right. So first, we'll turn these off. to kind of show you here. So if I look at this one, the Phoenix is 108 degrees. The next torch is 105. And this freaking Nitecore is 109, 110 degrees nearly. Okay. Here's the thing, guys. I will tell you this. It's running at 109.3 degrees when it's running at turbo. This flashlight is smaller than some of its competitors. So although the Phoenix is running at 108 degrees, your hand is so far away from the end of that bezel, I never noticed the Phoenix is running that hot. And it's not made of the same material. Because they went for this like fancy look for this Nitecore flashlight, I think this thing is transmitting heat throughout the entire thing. So even if I measure it from back here, this is measuring at 92, near where my hand would be. And this flashlight is running at 93. This flashlight is also running at 93. So both of these are actually hotter than the Nitecore, but to the touch, this 92 feels hotter than the next torch and the actual Phoenix. So what that says to me is that this is transmitting heat completely different than some of its competitors, to the point where it's extremely annoying. I think the remedy to this would be if the flashlight were longer, but the flashlight is not longer. So now I'm going to just show you when it becomes by far the most annoying, because I just ran these two on their turbo. This flashlight does something those two can't. This one runs at what's called lumen shield, which is 5,000 lumen. So I'm going to put this in the hand. I'm running at 5,000 lumen, and I'm going to see what does this thing feel like at the end of the temperature for lumen shield, because I let it kind of go from lumen shield to turbo. Once it steps down, I'm going to take the temperature, and it normally steps down around the 25-second mark or so. So let's just see what we got with that. So we got this. It's still going. All right, just step down. When I come and measure it, 114. This thing gets so hot under lumen shield. I mean, it just literally, it gets so hot. It jumped up to 114. It is beginning to cool, but even as I wait for it to cool, it's still at 110. It gets so freaking hot. Whereas if I take this, all right, so I just put the next torch. And it feels like this is made of like a polycarbonate mixed with aluminum, not all aluminum, right? Because it's a little bit longer. If I run this at turbo, it won't step down, first of all. So we're just going to run this at turbo for 30 seconds, because I think that is approximately where the Nitecore steps itself down. So we'll just run this at turbo. Well, let's say 25 seconds, because I already was running it for a little bit before we got started. Now, this is still getting hot. Don't get it twisted. However, it's a longer flashlight, and it has this technology inside called UTB technology. So we take this, we measure it. This one's running, even at its hottest, 107. Okay, now it doesn't get to 5,000 lumen. Obviously, I know that's a difference. But even still, I can put my hand around this and it feels fine. Now, the next torch has this technology called UTB technology, which allows to try to keep their flashlights cooler and also run longer on their turbo settings. They even brought it over to some of their other flashlights. This is one of their more floody flashlights. This is their Nitecore P21, which is really good as a flood search and rescue type of flashlight. But it makes it run a little bit longer. So if I go through and I do the same thing with the Phoenix. So if I take the Phoenix PD36R Ace, I'm going to run this on turbo for at least 25 seconds. And we're going to see what the temperature is here. Now, this one does have that front switch, which would get your hand close to the front bezel. But it is just something to think about. Now, neither of these two get up to the same lumen output. I will test a flashlight that can get up to the same lumen output just to see if it's doing the same type of thing. So if I measure this one's coming in at 109. Okay, so 109. So you may ask yourself, you may say, X, You know, none of those flashlights are getting up to 5,000 lumen. It's not really a fair test. All right, I feel you. So I have a code flashlight with a code battery, okay? Now, I can tell you that I have done a code test on the Next Torch or on the Nitecore, and it still gets up to that same hot temperature. This flashlight, the Next Torch P91, this can do 5,000 lumen, okay? So we're gonna bring it up. We're gonna reset this. We're gonna go and we're gonna bring it up to 5,000 lumen. So we're in the turbo mode right now for this Next Torch. I think this can do the 5,000 lumen longer than the Nitecore because of that UTB technology. And because it's longer, my fingers are nowhere near the bezel, okay? So this is just a much more comfortable light to use in that turbo mode of 5,000 lumen. And so we're still rocking it. We're about to approach 30 seconds with it. Let's go to 35 seconds. It's just be a little bit unfair on purpose to the Nitecore. It's just to show you the difference between these two. All right, and so when I go here with this, the temperature I get on this is 92 degrees. This technology, that Next Torch 93.7, this was running 5,000 lumen just like the Nitecore. I think that the reason that this Nitecore flashlight is not going to be for everyone is it just is trying to do too much, okay? It's trying to change the spot focus and the LEDs in the front to give you a different beam pattern. It's trying to give you premium materials with still this and still that. It's trying to give you a USB-C lanyard out of convenience. It's trying to keep it short and compact so you can maybe try to put it in a pocket, but maybe not. It's giving you glass breakers. It's built, I think, out of 6061 or 7071 aluminum, which transmits heat way differently than a lot of these other ones, which are made of composite materials or a different type of metal, or even a mixture of aluminum. And the biggest thing about it is it runs hot. So who is this for? I think this could be a flashlight for someone that wants to have a powerful flashlight in case of a dog attack on a late night walk, a coyote attack or something like that, because that lumen shield, that strobe mode could disorient an animal or a person, okay? If you're someone that does duty, you're a security guard, you're always illuminating parking garages, boat dock, very dimly lit office spaces. This gets too hot and you're going to be using it too much. It's going to get on your nerves. If you're just looking for a good flashlight for your survival kit, maybe you're building out a kit that's going to go in a bag. You want to put this in the cab of your truck because you want a flashlight. It's a little bit more powerful than your EDC light that's in your pocket, but you're not going to always be using it. So I could see this being a good light where you put in the cab of your vehicle. You turn this on if you're trying to illuminate and say, hey, is that the right house number? Hey, what's that noise underneath the vehicle? Oh, I need help changing my tire. This would be a good flashlight for that. But law enforcement, stuff like that, it is not ready for prime time. Those little quirks are going to get on your nerves. Nitecore sent this to me. This is not a review. And I love Nitecore products, okay? Like a lot. I like tons of their products. This is like only the second thing I can ever think of being a miss for me. But what do you think? Are you going to get the P27ix? Am I wrong? Did I need to test it out more? I've had it for quite a minute now, and I wanted to see what other reviewers said to see if anyone would mention the heat, because this thing is cooking. First time stopping by, hit the subscribe button. I would love to have you part of Battalion. This is not your first time stopping by. Well, thank you once again for watching me run my grape. Everyone else, we'll speak soon.